Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. As you can see, we're not in Planet Coaster at the moment. That's because of the new Thememaker toolset, and where you can put 3D models inside Planet Coaster. And I've always enjoyed modeling very much, so I thought it would be fun to just show you a bit of the modeling and show you the workflow of how you get something from here into Planet Coaster. So basically, how do you use the toolset? Now, although this isn't a tutorial for 3D modeling, I still want to show you the time-lapse because maybe someone still finds it useful. And I think it's a good start to show you the whole workflow of the Thememaker toolset. During the video there will be moments that I'm gonna explain a bit what's going on and the things that you really have to keep in mind if you want to use it for Planet Coaster. In the description there are timecodes to segments of the video if you really run into one specific problem. For example, just the materials or just the exporting. Now, like I said, this isn't a blended tutorial, so we're gonna go through certain parts very fast. But if I find there is enough interest to do a more in-depth video, then I'll do that for the next object I'll make. because of the Thememaker toolset you have to animate using bones, and you do that by connecting bones to vertex groups. Now you might notice that I create vertex groups and name them top and bottom. In preparation of animating it, during modeling I've already created vertex groups that I know I'm gonna animate. So for example, the top's gonna rotate and the bottom is not gonna do anything, but because of the Thememaker toolset we have to attach every vertex group to a bone even though it's static. More on that later in the video. As you can see here, I'm using all kinds of different textures and UV maps that are overlapping each other, and also using brightness and all kinds of other settings to make that work inside the Thememaker toolset. And so in Planet Coaster, you have to bake the texture, which I will explain later on. Now this is where the animation starts. As you can see, I create two bones, one for the static bottom and the other one for the rotating top. After placing the bone at the correct place, so on the pivot point of the top, I make sure that the bone names are the same as the vertex groups. So the rotating top one is called top and the static bottom one is called bottom. Then make sure that you parent the object to the armature with the correct parent type, which is armature, and then it should be connected and you can start animating. The default animation is 24 frames per second. I want to create an animation where the lid is open for 10 seconds. So after 1 second of opening it, it's going to be open for 10 seconds and then it takes another second to close it again, creating a total animation length of 288 frames or 12 seconds. Be sure to have it nicely looped so that it doesn't jump awkwardly. So for example, if I open the lid, always make sure that you close it again before ending the loop. Alright, so this is the part where I bake the texture. I'm setting up a new image file so that Blender can bake all the different materials and textures onto one texture using one UV map. As you can see here, then it all fits into one image. This takes a bit of time, but luckily we can fast forward in post-editing. So, as you can see here, the baking is done. You could have multiple materials, but I just find it cleaner to have just one material as far as possible. All we have to do now is make sure that Blender gives the right information to Planet Coaster about the materials. And as you can see here, the way to do that is have the material name and the image name the same, except for the suffix that you want to add to it. And for normal images, the normal texturing, it's the BC, the basic color suffix. You have to add that one to the package, which I will show in the end. Make sure that you use the correct UV when exporting. The best way to do this is just to delete the ones you don't need. In this case, I need to keep the baked UV, otherwise it would look like what you just saw. And also delete all the materials that you don't need. Another important part of having a model like this work within Planet Coaster is having LOD models. You have to have 5 extra models, which are getting worse in quality, so Planet Coaster can replace models with each other the farther away you zoom. So that means that if you zoom out, it's going to be replaced with a worse looking model, but you won't notice that because you're further away from the object. And it helps keep everything in check performance wise. Now I found the best way to do that is by using the modifier decimate. As you can see here, you have to have a certain percentage of triangles left over. And if you use decimate, you can set a percentage of the original model. I will demonstrate here how it will affect each object. You will see that at a certain point it will really affect the object and it will look really weird. But like I said, it doesn't matter because the object is so far away you won't notice. Keep in mind that it doesn't matter what the object is called as long as it ends with the underscore L and a number suffix, and you have to have the total of L0 through L5. We're nearly there, but there's another thing you have to do. You have to set the scene scale differently than normal. I don't know why this is, but at the moment if you export it like this, it will say that the model is too small. We have to actually scale it by 100. For some reason you have to set the scene scale to 0.01 and then scale it up and apply that scale, so the scale is 1 again. I hope this makes sense, but just make sure that when you scale it, when you set the scene scale to 0.01, that your dimensions are in meters and not in centimeters. Alright, then it's time to export. Make sure you select all the LOD meshes and armature if you have one. Make sure that the settings are like they are on the left, so FBX 6.1, Y forward and setup, and apply the modifiers. Then you go to the website, enter an item name, enter a description. In the .zip that you have to add, you have to have an icon, which can just be a screenshot. And also the texture, of course, with the right name, and the name is the material name plus the correct suffix. Then you add that all to a package and you upload it. Add that same icon.png from the zip also to the website. Fill in the final categories and theme. Make sure that you select simple if you use an animation. Price and running cost is what you want, of course. And flexicolors I will address in another video later on. And hit submit. Then if everything goes according to plan, it will go from uploading to in queue to building, and finally it will be completed and you can download it. Download the file and put it in the TMT folder inside Planet Coaster inside your documents. Then go into Planet Coaster, go to the Toolkit items and select the correct item. Now currently there's a problem with orientation, or at least I have a problem with orientation. I'm not quite sure how to fix that yet, but future videos I will address it again. Well, there it is. That's the basic workflow for creating an item in Blender and getting it through the Toolkit system to get it into Planet Coaster. Now, like I said, this wasn't really a Blender tutorial. If there are people who would like that, then there's always a possibility. Just let me know. But for now, I hope you enjoyed it and found it somewhat educational. If you did, please make sure to subscribe and like. And if you want to support me even further, you can go to the Patreon website and help me out that way. And I'll see you in the next video. See ya.